When a billionaire CEO dialed wrong at 3 a.m., he uncovered a dark family secret. The clock's hands crept toward 3 a.m., a witching hour where shadows danced in the corners of the billionaire's penthouse. Darkened windows glared down like unblinking eyes, but the silence was abruptly shattered by his phone's shrill ring, a number he didn't recognize. David Sterling, head of Innovatech and a titan of industry, squinted at the screen, heart racing. Who would call him at this godforsaken hour? He hesitated, then answered, nostrils flaring with a mix of intrigue and apprehension. "Hello?" came a voice, tense and labored, as if it were dragging secrets from the bowels of the earth. "Is this David?" It wasn't much more than a raspy whisper, but it sent shivers down his spine. David felt a chill wash over him, as if the air had grown suddenly thick with dread. Then came the strangest of claims, a family secret, long buried, whispers of betrayal and mystery surrounding his lineage. "You don't know me," the voice continued, flickering like an old candle flame. "But they've been watching you. The truth about your father, it's not what you think." Each word dripped with urgency, a fragile thread binding him to an unsettling past he had never known. David's mind spun with the implications. Could it be true? He had always thought he was the son of a self-made man, his rise to power founded on sheer grit. But now, the revelation lingered like an itch just beneath the surface, something twisting in his gut. As the seconds ticked away, the stakes escalated. Who was this person? What did they know about his family that he didn't? Just then, a thunderous roar reverberated outside, a reminder of the storm raging in the world beyond. It echoed in the silence of his empty apartment, a jarring reminder that the dragons of family secrets never truly sleep. As he leaned closer to the phone, the voice grew faint, almost as if the caller was retreating into the shadows. "David, listen to me, you need to find the old house. The clues are there." And with that, the call was cut off, leaving him clutching his phone like it was a lifeline. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." David sat back, breath caught in his throat, mind racing. The old house, his family estate near the cliffs, long abandoned since his mother's death. What clues could possibly lie in ruins? Uneasy thoughts swirled as shadows crept along the walls, taunting him with a sense of foreboding. There had always been something about his past that felt too perfect, too carefully curated. What if it was all a lie? With a sudden jolt, he made his decision. It was time to uncover the truth, no matter how dark it might be. But little did he know, lurking in the depths of that house were secrets that threatened to unravel everything he thought he knew. And as dawn approached, leaving the night behind, a deeper mystery awaited him. The first rays of dawn slipped through the curtains, illuminating David's penthouse with a dreary glow. He rubbed his eyes, still haunted by the unrelenting words of the mysterious caller. He felt unmoored, a ship lost at sea, tossed around by waves of confusion and dread. The urge to uncover the truth surged within him, overpowering the voice of reason that urged caution. He jumped up, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he fumbled for his jacket. The old house loomed in his mind, a specter of forgotten memories and shadows untold. It was a hefty drive to the estate, but urgency burned. He had to go, had to dig up whatever lay buried there. As David navigated through the deserted streets, his mind raced. What if the old house contained evidence of a life that wasn't his? What if he was stepping into a past riddled with lies? He gripped the steering wheel tighter, veins pulsing in rhythm to the growing storm inside him. Arriving at the estate, he found the towering structure draped in silence, ivy crawling up the porch like fingers reaching for the past. The air felt different here, weighty, electric. Every instinct screamed at him to turn away, yet he flicked his gaze to the rotting door. Trembling, he approached, every creak of the wooden boards under his feet echoing in the emptiness. Inside, the forlorn rooms were steeped in dust, sunlight filtering in through shattered windows, casting a ghostly glow. Memories lingered in every corner, scenes from a life once lived. He paused, memory fragments flitting by like moths to a flame, his mother's laughter, family gatherings faded into smudged photographs, all sitting just beyond reach. David moved deeper into the house, heart pounding as shadows danced around him. He felt the presence of something, or someone, lurking just out of sight. Was it the weight of his family's history? Or something far more sinister? He stopped suddenly before a locked cabinet, its brass handle gleaming defiantly. It looked old, out of place amidst the decay, as if it held the memories of generations. With trembling hands, he fished out a small object from his pocket and inserted it into the rusty lock. It clicked. The door creaked open with a sickening slowness, revealing stacks of old letters and photographs. As he sifted through the contents, one photo caught his eye, an image of a woman he didn't recognize. Anger bubbled up within him. There was something unsettling about her expression, a knowing smile that chilled him to the bone. Why didn't he remember her? And why did the heaviness of the air feel more oppressive now? Suddenly, a soft thump came from upstairs, followed by an unmistakable whisper, "Help me." His blood ran cold. David held his breath, fear wrapping around him like a vice. He stepped back instinctively, then hesitated. There was someone here. The urge to flee clawed at him, but curiosity and fear intertwined. He clenched his fists, determination rising within. Someone was calling beneath the surface of his family's dark legacy. A specter awoke, urging him onward. He turned toward the staircase. Each step felt like a heartbeat, echoing in his ears. What awaited him in the shadows? Was the voice tied to the family's secrets he had just begun to uncover? With every step, he thrashed against the weight of the unknown. The door at the top of the stairs stood ajar, revealing a sliver of darkness beyond. A flicker of movement caught his eye. Someone or something was waiting for him. He hesitated, breath hitching in his throat. Should he enter, risking it all for answers, or turn back into the light, abandoning the haunting whispers of his past? The choice before him was more than just a matter of feet. It was about confronting the legacy of lies. And then he stepped forward. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, a chill raced through David's body, freezing him in place. Shadows clung to the corners, whispering secrets in the silence. He felt a pressure building in his chest, each heartbeat echoing louder in his ears. There was so much he didn't understand, but the voice still echoed in his mind, a plea, urgent and desperate. In the dim light, he made out the outline of furniture cloaked in white sheets, sad remnants of a life still intimately tied to his family, and yet somehow utterly foreign. He took a tentative step inside, a beam from a distant window illuminating dust particles that danced through the stale air. "Help me." The voice was softer now, almost fragile. It sent a shiver down his spine, awakening instincts he didn't know he had. David squinted into the darkness, trying to see past the uncertainty that wrapped around him like fog. "Who's there?" he called, voice trembling. Silence responded, heavy and oppressive, the air thickening. He stepped deeper into the room, every movement deliberate, trying to shut out the nausea curling in his stomach. Then he saw her, a shadow emerging from the darkness. The woman from the photograph stared back at him, her haunting smile replaced by a look of desperation. "David," she breathed. The sound rolled off her lips like a dark incantation. A thin layer of sweat beaded on his forehead as he wrestled with confusion. He focused hard, searching his memory. Who was she? Why did her presence feel like a tether to a past he couldn't grasp? "Who are you?" he whispered, but the phantom woman simply shook her head, as if the answer was wrapped in pain too deep to voice. That a loud crash from downstairs shattered the moment. Panic surged through him. The air shifted, turning colder, and he felt a presence swell behind him, making his skin prickle. A glimpse of movement flickered at the corner of his eye, a dark silhouette beyond the doorframe, watching. "David, you have to get out." The woman cried, her voice slicing through the chaos like a knife. He stumbled back, heart racing, fueled by fear, but instinctively, he wanted to know why. What is happening? The truth will come for you. It is already here. She faded into the shadows, the urgency in her tone piercing his heart. David's mind raced, adrenaline fueling his actions. He turned and sprinted toward the door, but the figure re-emerged, blocking his way. Stop. You don't understand. It hissed. The face revealed was a twisted reflection of his own, hauntingly familiar yet disturbingly wrong. The sight sent him staggering back, a clench of horror gripping his throat. No! David shouted, trying to push through, but his legs felt heavy, roots of fear anchoring him to the ground. Stay! The voice rang out, simultaneously familiar and terrifying, reverberating like a bell tolling his doom. There was no escape from the pull of the truth. What if this wasn't just a voice from the past but a harbinger of the life he had tried so desperately to construct? David's pulse quickened. He was caught, straddling two worlds, his present colliding violently with a past that wouldn't let him go. The walls seemed to pulse around him, echoing the voices and faces locked in the darkness. He could either confront whatever nightmare this was or be consumed by it. That he twisted around, determined to find the way out, but the door behind him slammed shut, plunging him into stark blackness. The whispers intensified, drowning him in a torrent of confusion. Then another voice emerged, clearer, louder. Your destiny is here, David. What did it mean? His world had spiraled into madness, and now he faced an unseen fate, a darkness that beckoned. With a final surge of defiance, he shouted, I want to let you control me. But what if it was too late? The air thickened with tension as a chilling laugh echoed through the room, the darkness stirring, revealing shadows weaving into something more ominous. And in that moment, uncertainty shrouded everything. What secrets lay hidden within the very walls of his family's legacy? He braced himself for the terrifying revelations to come, knowing the only way out was through. But would he survive the journey? David's breath came in ragged gasps as he stood frozen between panic and confusion. Every nerve in his body was on fire, screaming for him to flee while his mind churned with questions. Who was the woman in the shadows? What did she mean when she said the truth was coming for him? The chilling laughter echoed again, reverberating off the walls like thunder, deepening his dread. He tried to approach the door, but the figure stood firm, a suffocating barrier. The familiarity of its features twisted something inside him, a blend of recognition and fear that made his stomach churn. Let me go! He shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. No. The voice was unwavering, filled with an eerie calmness. You're not ready yet. David's instincts kicked in, and he turned sharply back to the shadows. What do you want from me? The laughter faded, replaced by a deafening silence that settled like a thick fog. Then, inch by agonizing inch, the light from the window flickered, illuminating the figure just enough to reveal its face entirely. It was him, distorted, cracked skin like old porcelain, eyes that burned with an unnatural fire. Why do you look like me? David stammered, heart racing faster than it ever had before. Because you can still change, the figure said, stepping closer, its smirk revealing teeth that were sharper than they should be. But first, you must face what you've hidden. Images flooded David's mind, flashes of a past he thought he had buried. Memories not just of love and laughter, but of deceit, betrayal, truths he'd buried deep within himself. Each memory ignited a spark of adrenaline. Something dark had always lurked beneath the surface, he had just chosen to ignore it. Don't you want to know the truth about your family? The figure asked, voice smooth like silk yet tainted with malice. The lies, the pain, the secrets. They're all yours. A wave of nausea washed over David. No. I refuse. He grabbed a nearby sheet-covered chair, hurling it at the shadowy figure, but it merely evaporated into evening mist, leaving no trace behind. Running will get you nowhere. You cannot escape what you are, it taunted, stepping closer, the air thickening with malevolence. David's heart thudded painfully in his chest, each beat a reminder that he was still alive, still here, facing this horror. You think I'm just going to stand here and let you dictate my life? I'm not that person anymore. He yelled, desperation mingling with anger. Ah, but the past doesn't just fade away. It is woven into your very being, the figure snarled, eyes glinting with malevolent glee. You can't unravel what was never stitched correctly. As those words hung in the air, the walls began to throb, like they were listening, absorbing the tension. Shadows seemed to elongate, dancing menacingly around him as if feeding off his fear. There was a shifting, a vibration almost, as if the house itself were alive, urging him to remember. David's thoughts raced. Could he truly confront the hidden truths? Faced with the specter of his own soul, he was at a crossroads: either embrace his past and fight, or succumb to the darkness that beckoned seductively. Then, a sudden glimmer of hope pierced through the gloom. You're right, he breathed, hands trembling yet firm, but I know I'm stronger than the lies. The figure recoiled slightly, anger flickering across its twisted face. Then come and claim your truth. With those words, the shadows erupted, swirling around him with blinding speed. In the midst of chaos, David's heart thumped loud against the silence of the unknown. With a newfound determination, he prepared to leap into the whirlwind of secrets, ready to confront whatever awaited him in that dark abyss. What awaited him on the other side? Was he ready to face the consequences of his family's legacy, and could he decipher the truth before it consumed him? David felt himself being pulled into the void, the gusts of swirling shadows wrapping tightly around him like a suffocating cocoon. The air became charged, every breath tasting of burnt metal, and the world spun wildly, blurring the boundaries of time and space. He was no longer standing in that room, he was thrust into a kaleidoscope of memories, images flooding his senses with a relentless urgency. His childhood home emerged, shrouded in the sepia tones of nostalgia and fear. He could see himself as a boy, laughing, playing in the garden. But just beyond, he felt darker shadows creeping in: arguments, screams, the clash of porcelain on tile. The truth began to bubble to the surface like a pot set to boil over. Face it. That twisted version of himself urged, its voice now slicing through the layers of memory. You can't hide from what you've seen. Suddenly, there was silence, a sharp cut that hung in the air. Before him stood a figure, familiar yet grotesque, his father, once a towering figure of success, now a husk of what he used to be. Stop hiding. The apparition shouted, its voice echoing with bitterness. You buried me just like you buried the truth. David felt a violent pulse in his chest. No. I didn't, but the figure waved his hand dismissively, and memories unfurled like a banner. Dark alleys where deals were made, a secret business that extended beyond the law, money changing hands under the cover of night. The weight of betrayal hung heavy in the air, each memory unveiling deeper scars. Why didn't you defend us? The father's apparition yelled, eyes glaring with accusation. You let it all happen. I was a kid. I didn't know. David shouted back, his voice bursting with emotion. Yet the truth was undeniable. He was complicit in the smiling facade his family had projected, knowingly or unknowingly participating in the lies they had woven together, a family shielded by wealth, fortified by denial. It's not just family, the figure hissed, morphing back into the dark creature that had taunted him moments before. It's your weakness. You think you can escape it? David's heart raced. No, I want to let you twist me into something I'm not. The shadows clawed at him, pulling him into suffocating depths as he thrashed heavily, panic gnawing at his mind. He focused on the light beyond, a pinprick of hope fighting against the darkness. With a frantic push, he grasped onto the thread of his own strength, determined to pull himself free. Your truth will lift you, the figure hissed, its voice now a low, seductive whisper. But know this, the price for freedom is steep. David stared defiantly into those fiery, hollow eyes. I'd pay anything to be free of this. Time seemed to freeze, and in that moment, the room around him flickered. The shadows hesitated, and the room shifted, morphing into his family's dimly lit basement where secrets were kept, and darkness thrived. Suddenly, an object caught his eye, a dusty, neglected box at the corner that felt painfully familiar. He hesitated, dread coating his throat, but something deep inside him urged him forward. "Open it," the figure moaned, the room vibrating with a sinister intensity. "You want the truth? Then face it head on." Gearing up for the worst, David took a step toward the box. His trembling hands gripped the lid, fear entwining with hope. He felt the weight of time pressing down on him, the past, the secrets, everything weighing heavier than bricks. As he lifted the lid, darkness spilled forth like a tide. What would leak out? Would it drown him under its relentless surge, or would he finally grasp the truth he had been denied? The shadows reared up, threatening to engulf him as David stared into the abyss of his family's secrets, heart pounding, resolve strengthening. What unforeseen horror awaited within that box? Would it finally cleanse the stains of his past, or would it pull him deeper into despair? David's breath hitched as the lid creaked open, releasing a suffocating wave of darkness that clawed at the air around him. The shadows seemed to twist and undulate, almost alive, licking at his skin and infiltrating his mind, filling it with chaos. He stumbled backward, the echoes of every shattered childhood memory crashing into his consciousness. But one relentless question echoed louder than the rest: what had been hidden inside this box? As the last faint rays of light left the room, David peered into the abyss of darkness spilling out before him. It was a mix of substances he couldn't identify, the remnants of lost opportunity, buried tears, and unspoken fears all bubbling within. The moment felt surreal, like a scene torn from the movies where the hero finally musters enough courage to open a forbidden door. His heart raced, each beat growing louder, drowning out the shadows. "Remember," the figure taunted, slithering closer, "you asked for this. No turning back now." With a gulp, David forced himself to step closer, the whispers of memories breaking through the haunting stillness. "You think you can hurt me with this?" he challenged, trying to instill strength into his voice even as his legs trembled beneath him. "It's not about hurting you," the creature replied, coiling closer, its form distorting and reshaping. "It's the truth you're not ready to handle." He squinted into the darkness, feeling warmth behind his eyes and inner fire pushing against the cold dread the shadows offered. Beyond the murk, there was something glinting. David reached inside, compelled by an unbearable urge to know, to unearth whatever truth lay wrapped in darkness. The sensation of cold metal brushed against his fingertips. He yanked it out, revealing a tarnished locket. It dangled from his hand, heavy with years of unspoken history. As he opened it, sharp gasps drew in the suffocating air around him. Inside were two photographs, one of a woman he vaguely recognized, the other a baby, her child perhaps, smiling innocently. A name surfaced in his mind, one he had not pondered in years: his mother's twin sister. The confusion surged, a tidal wave of forgotten laughter and the piercing scent of roses blooming in summer. "She disappeared, years ago," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper against the crescendo of memories. I thought she was gone." The apparition's face flickered with interest, the shadows swirling more aggressively now. "Did you ever stop to wonder why? The darkness you feel is more than family secrets, David, it's inherited depravity." Shock coursed through him. What did he mean? A truth buried deeper than just the locket's surface? He felt the weight of his lineage pressing down, pushing him closer to a revelation he both craved and dreaded. David's own family, cloaked in lies, had painted quite the happy picture, but beneath it lay an entire omerta, a code of silence steeped in violence and deception. "Enough. I won't live under this shadow any longer." He shouted into the void, tossing the locket into the depths, a desperate act of defiance against the truths he feared. The shadows reacted violently. They twisted and roared, a whirlpool of anger rising around him. "You cannot escape your fate." They screamed collectively, voices merging into a cacophony that clawed at his sanity. The basement trembled, the walls closing in on him. Panic surged anew, like electricity coursing through his veins, threatening to explode. David's grip tightened around the edges of the box as he fought to remain grounded, heart racing uncontrollably. But just as the shadows were about to consume him, a brilliant light flared through the chaos, a beacon shining so fiercely that it began to push the darkness back, weakening its hold. "Fight, David." An echo of his childhood self whispered. "You've got the strength within." As the shadows receded, an unexpected light illuminated something old hidden against the far wall, a door, slightly ajar and beckoning to him. Curiosity ignited within him, overpowering the surrounding fear momentarily. Could this lead to an escape, or would it only drag him deeper into entwined family treachery? David's heart thudded as he made his way toward the light, each step feeling heavier yet compelled by something he could not understand, what lay behind the door that seemed to promise an escape from the family bonds tightening like a noose. Would it be the breakthrough he needed, or would it open up an even darker chapter of betrayal? David hesitated at the door, a mix of fear and curiosity playing a tug-of-war within him. The light flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced like specters along the walls. He pushed the door open, the creaking hinges sharing his tension as he stepped through the threshold. The room beyond was different. Unlike the suffocating darkness of the basement, this space glimmered with the soft sheen of polished wood and brass fittings, stunningly out of place. It felt like stepping into a time capsule that captured a moment long forgotten, a study, filled with bookshelves stacked to the brim, a large ornate desk at its center, and old photographs hanging crookedly on the walls, seemingly watching him. As he crossed the threshold, David felt a chill run through him. A pervasive sensation of being observed clung to him, a ghost hovering just beyond the realm of visibility. He scanned the room, searching for any sign of life, but it was empty. The only sound was the whispered secrets of pages rustling in a gentle breeze. His eyes fell on one particular photo, framed with gold that had dulled over time. It was an image of his family, a rare gathering from his childhood where smiles were frozen in time. But something was off. As he leaned closer, he noticed shadows behind them, figures barely visible yet undeniably there. They were watching the very shadows he had just escaped. They had followed him. A surge of panic raised the hair on the back of his neck. David stepped back, bumping into a wooden cabinet. A small box teetered atop it, sliding just enough to give him a glimpse of its contents: papers, yellowed and brittle. Unable to resist, he pulled them out. His breath caught in his throat as he unfolded the first one, the words jumping from the page and drilling into his mind. Family trust. The following actions are to be taken upon the death of a designated elder. Heirs are to be monitored. Unauthorized access to the family estate will result in severe consequences. His mind raced as the words sunk in. What were they hiding? What did this have to do with his mother's sister? Had this entire time been a cover for something far more sinister? It was as if dark tendrils of family history were unfurling and wrapping around his mind, squeezing tighter with each revelation. In a blistering flash, David's pulse quickened. "No, this can't be real," he breathed, a wild desperation creeping into his voice. The very foundation of his existence felt like it was shifting beneath his feet. An unsettling nausea churned in his stomach as another document slipped from his fingers and fluttered to the floor. As he bent to retrieve it, awe turned to horror. It was a birth certificate, but not just any certificate. This one belonged to the baby from the locket. "Oh God," he whispered, dread pooling in his gut. The name printed there sent ice through his veins, twisting his heart. The child was meant to be a secret. And there was a darker implication that lingered beneath the ink, an inherited threat bottled within walls of silence. Should he dig further? Should he risk unraveling this tangled web? The walls felt like they were closing in again, just as before, and the shadows groaned with distant echoes of his past. He sensed something was coming, something greater than himself, ready to unveil whatever truth lay entwined deep within the charade of family loyalty. And then, an ear-splitting crash reverberated through the air. David whipped around, heart racing, to find the door he'd just entered slamming shut. Darkness snaked into the corners of the room, the shadows leveraging their strength against him. "Your legacy is written in blood," came a voice, echoing from the blackness, chilling him to the core. "Accept it." The lights began to flicker, and David braced himself. He could feel it rising, a storm of truths and fears mounting within him. Would he confront the shadows of his past or get swallowed up in the new darkness? Just then, as he grappled with his rising despair, a sudden motion caught his eye. Something was emerging from the bottom shelf of the cabinet, glinting in the fading light. What could it be? Would it be the key to unraveling everything, or the final unraveling of himself? The glinting object drew David's gaze like a moth to a flame. In the dim light, he could make out the outline of a small, ornate key, its golden surface catching flickers of light as it hardly moved. He hesitated for a heartbeat, every instinct telling him to run. But there was that insatiable curiosity, that drive to untangle the threads of his family's past, pulling him closer. With trembling hands, he picked up the key. It felt oddly warm, sending a pulse of energy through his fingertips. Was it simply the adrenaline coursing through his veins, or was something far more supernatural at play? As he held it up, the shadows around him receded, but only slightly, as if wary of this new arrival. "Where do you lead?" he whispered, barely above a breath, his eyes darting around the room for any sign of the lurking presence. The air grew thick with tension, closing in around him like a vice, squeezing and squeezing, until he could barely breathe. The voice from the darkness lingered, a ghostly whisper echoing in the back of his mind. "Your legacy is written." What legacy? What did blood have to do with family trust? The questions piled up, and the weight of each one pressed down harder than the last. That he felt a sudden urge to find its lock, to uncover the door that corresponded with this mystical key. Was it hidden in the desk? He rushed toward it, acutely aware that every moment spent standing still could bring the shadows crashing down upon him. That he opened drawers frantically, papers scattered like autumn leaves, but nothing was right. Panic tightened his chest, and he could almost feel the specters breathing down his neck. Then, an idea struck. The old cabinet. These intense, historical pieces of furniture often hid secrets. That he stumbled back to it, heart pounding, wrenching open the top drawer. Inside, alongside the remnants of forgotten lives, lay an old, dust-covered envelope marked with an unusual insignia, a family crest. He had seen it before, perhaps on their family heirlooms, but not in a long time. Was it possible that this envelope held the answers he sought? With quickened breaths, he pried it open. A neatly folded letter spilled out, the ink faded but still legible. The message was brief yet haunting. "Secrecy is your family's greatest gift, unveil it at your peril. Once you turn the key, there's no turning back." David's heart raced. What could this mean? He glanced back at the key, realizing it wasn't merely an object of the past, it was the gateway to understanding. Before he could ponder further, the lights flickered ominously, the shadows growing bolder, whispering in dark, twisted tones. The room felt as if it was alive, pulsating with history, a history he was a part of now whether he wanted to be or not. In that moment, David knew he couldn't turn back. He had to discover what lay behind the door that awaited the key. But would the truth set him free or ensnare him further in the web of family deception? Summoning every ounce of courage, he quickly scanned the cabinet again, searching for a lock somewhere it would fit. As his fingers brushed over a discreet engraved panel on the side, he felt an urge, an unshakable instinct. This had to be it. He plunged the key into the lock. It clicked with resounding finality, echoing through the silent room. Suddenly, the ground seemed to shake beneath him, and a hidden door slowly creaked open, revealing a dark passageway. What awaited him in the shadows beyond? Would he find enlightenment or despair? The air crackled with unspoken truths, and as he stepped toward the darkness, he could feel the weight of his choices bearing down on him. A swirl of emotions surged through him, blurring the line between duty and destiny. David hesitated just before he entered, uncertainty gripping him tightly. He wondered if he was about to uncover the ultimate secret, one that would forever alter the trajectory of his life. What awaited him in the unseen depths ahead? David stepped into the passageway, his heart pounding like a war drum. The darkness closed in around him, damp and heavy. The musty scent of earth mixed with something metallic, almost faintly sweet. Every instinct screamed for him to turn back, but he pressed on, driven by the lust for truth no matter how bitter it might taste. With his pulse hammering in his ears, he reached for the sides of the narrow corridor, feeling the cool, rough stone beneath his fingertips. The air was thick with an electric charge, each breath feeling like a desperate gasp amidst the oppressive silence. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, twisting and curling like forgotten memories, taunting him to retreat. That he took a cautious step forward, and the ground shifted beneath him, sending a chill racing up his spine. Was the path alive? Or was it merely a figment of his fear-fueled imagination? Each step echoed loudly, reverberating off unseen walls, like the desperate whispers of his own anxious thoughts. Find the light, he muttered to himself, a mantra against the encroaching dread. But how could he when darkness held its grip so tightly? As he ventured deeper, a dim glow flickered ahead. He quickened his pace, hope blossoming in his chest like a fragile flower fighting for sunlight. Rounding a corner, he stumbled upon an opening in the wall, a small chamber illuminated by a flickering candle. The light cast long, wavering shadows that danced eerily on the stone walls. Inside the room lay an altar of sorts. A carved wooden table stood at its center, draped in a faded crimson cloth. But what truly seized his attention was the assortment of strange artifacts scattered upon it, mysterious relics of a family past he barely knew. An ancient book lay open, pages yellowed and ink faded. David could feel its weight in the air, alive with secrets just waiting to be told. As he approached, the candlelight flickered wildly, as though trying to convey something urgent. Leaning closer, he squinted to read the text. Words flowed across the page like a river of shadows. The blood we share binds us, but it is the truth that can tear us apart. A chill shot down his spine. What truth? He whispered, fear creeping back in. He glanced around the chamber, half expecting a figure to loom from the darkness, some spirit guardians of the secrets held in this sanctum, but nothing moved. Only silence wrapped around him tighter. Mustering the courage, he flipped through the pages, each turn feeling like he was peeling back layers of a long-buried family curse. Each entry was more shocking than the last. Hidden marriages, betrayals, untold riches accrued from deception. Was this legacy his to carry, or a burden that would drag him down? Suddenly, a sharp sound pierced the air. A door creaked open somewhere behind him, shattering his focus. He whirled around, panic flooding his senses. Was someone else here? Had the shadows finally taken form? Who is there? He shouted, voice trembling as uncertainty clawed at him from within. The flicker of the candle seemed to waver, casting a wild dance of shadows that blurred the line between reality and his racing thoughts, and then he heard it, a low, almost sinister chuckle, carrying on the stale air. Warmth flushed to his cheeks, and he felt the room constrict around him, each breath becoming more labored as the passage of time darkened. Your legacy awaits you, David, the voice whispered, chilling his veins. He spun back to the altar, eyes wide in disbelief, the book slipping from his hands, pages fluttering like a flock of trapped birds. The candles flickered out, plunging him into pitch darkness. What lay in the depths of his family's hidden past? Was it wisdom or a curse dragging him deeper into chaos? As he trembled there in the darkness, he knew whatever came next would forever define him. And when the silence finally lifted, he braced for the truth to crash upon him like a tidal wave. What was waiting on the other side? The world crashed back, the darkness lifting slowly as if layers of fog were peeled away, revealing a dim light flickering somewhere on the edges of consciousness. David blinked rapidly, trying to shake off the last remnants of fear that clung stubbornly to him. Where had the voice come from? What had he missed? Your legacy awaits you, David. The words lingered in his mind as he steadied himself, gathering every ounce of courage he could muster. The altar stood imperious before him, unearthed pages scattered like secrets left unattended. Flipping the book back open, the pages hummed with energy, whispering tantalizing truths that clawed at his reason. Then a faint glow caught his eye. He leaned in closer, noticing a small, intricately designed pendant nestled under the altar, glimmering as if imbued with light from another realm. David reached for it instinctively, the delicate detail in the craftsmanship capturing his attention. It was a family crest, unmistakable and familiar. As he grasped the pendant, warmth flooded through his fingers, dispelling for a moment the chilling aura that had threatened to consume him. Just then, he heard a rustling noise behind him, brought back to reality by a sensation, sharp and urgent, that twisted his stomach. "Who's there?" David called again, voice steadier this time as adrenaline coursed through his veins. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, their outline framed by the candlelight that suddenly winked back to life, revealing a woman he recognized, the ghostly figure from previous encounters. "It's time, David," she said softly, the pleading lilt of her voice mingling with the flickering light. "You must know the truth." Heart heavy, David struggled to contain his emotions. Who are you? Why does this matter?" "I'm someone you lost long ago," she murmured, stepping closer. Her face was illuminated with an ethereal glow, and although her features remained mysterious, he felt an undeniable bond, the kind that tied the threads of blood and history together. "And your family, though powerful, is built on pain and deception. Each lie, each betrayal, weighs heavy. It's time to understand that your choices shape the future as much as your lineage." David's heart raced. The air shimmered with tension as if the universe itself held its breath, waiting for him to react. "What must I do?" he asked, pulse quickening. Beneath the layers of darkness, he felt the heavy burden of truth rising, begging for release. She stepped back, allowing him room. "You must confront the legacy you've been handed. But know this: freedom requires facing the darkness that comes with forging your own path. Will you accept it?" He glanced back at the altar, weighing the significance of the pendant against the family heirlooms and artifacts strewn about. The call to action reverberated within. Freedom beckoned, yet felt like an anchor pulling at his very being. "I have to," he breathed, stealing his gaze. "I have to see what lies ahead." The woman smiled, a gentle warmth in her features that soothed the frenetic energy swirling around him. "Then embrace the truth you discover." "I'll be with you," she assured him. "You're never alone." With determination, David found the strength within, locking onto his new purpose. The stories, whispers, betrayal, and pain, he would lift them, one by one, to reveal the soul of his family hidden beneath layers of secrets. David stepped toward the altar, the pendant heavy in his palm, a beacon calling him to embrace his fate. He held it up, using the light to guide his path, knowing the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but that truth would finally pave the way to healing. As he turned from the altar, prepared to step back into the world and face his family's reckoning, a newfound resolve surged in his heart. Confrontation awaited, yet along with it hovered the thrill of discovery. His life would no longer be held captive to those shadows, and he would unearth the depth of his legacy, both anguish and love entangled together. "Let us go," he whispered, voice resolute as he took the first steps toward a destiny forged by his own hand, ready to reshape the narrative of his bloodline, ready to rewrite his story. And so, in that flickering light banishing the ghosts of the past, he embarked on a path neither entirely known nor certain, a journey toward redemption, toward freedom. Now it was time for the real story to begin. If you want to keep hearing incredible tales like this, make sure you subscribe immediately. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. And don't forget to smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your likes make a huge difference. Flood the comments section right down below with your reactions and theories about the ending. What do you think David will confront first? What does the pendant represent? And above all, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your support is what keeps these stories alive, and the only true fans understand that.